Hey everyone, and welcome to 7 Reasons Why Introverts Are the Best. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Natural psychologists. Extroverts seem unmatched in the social world. They're confident and enthusiastic. They enjoy the spotlight. They like meeting new people and gathering all kinds of energy from their environment. In every social situation, we assume extroverts have the advantage. But is that always true? Do introverts have any social advantages over extroverts? Okay, imagine you're looking at a group of people. They're talking, they're chatting, they're laughing. An extrovert would casually join in and mingle with the crowd, right? But an introvert would stand in the background. Instead of participating, introverts prefer to look from a distance. They meet less people and make less connections, but introverts spend their time observing others, so they have a keen understanding of people, groups, and social expectations. They spend so much time watching people, they notice social phenomenon that very few people would ever see. A study from Yale University published in the journal Social Psychology put this introverted skill set to the test. They challenged both introverts and extroverts to take a quiz on social psychology. For this quiz, you had to identify different socio-psychological phenomenon by observing a regular group of people. So, who do you think performed better? Hypersocial extroverts or shy, independent introverts? Well, the researchers expected social butterflies to score the highest on this quiz, but the data showed exactly the opposite. The shyest introverts significantly outperformed the most social extroverts. The shyest people performed better than anyone in the entire experiment. These introverts recognized complex social phenomenon, which many people never knew existed. These are the kinds of complicated trends that you'd learn about in a college course on social psychology. Yet these introverts, with no background in the subject, observed social biases and paradoxes of human nature. Now, while they don't know enough to conduct research or take on clients, their powers of observation make introverts into natural psychologists. Number 2. Heightened self-awareness. Introverts spend most of their time by themselves, so they get to know themselves much better than most. They learn each and every one of their strengths and weaknesses. They explore their passions to the fullest. They challenge their own ways of thinking. Yeah, introverts struggle outside their personal bubble or taking risks, but inside that bubble, introverts are a force to be reckoned with. Because they know themselves so well, introverts are profoundly self-aware. They can and will carefully examine their own experiences. They regularly think back on what they say and do, and they're always aware of how their own actions affect others. But introverts don't do this by accident. No, introverts intentionally analyze themselves, and they like doing it. Many introverts turn self-exploration into a part of their regular routine. They challenge their creative side with new hobbies. They gain diverse perspectives by reading books, and they go out of their way to consider and apply the wisdom of others. If extroverts like to explore the world, introverts like to explore themselves, and that exploration makes them incredibly self-aware. Number 3. Patient ambition. Are introverts and extroverts motivated differently? Well, let's think about motivation. Is everyone in the world motivated the same way? Do the same things inspire you, your friends, or your coworkers? The truth is, different personalities are motivated by different things. Extroverts, for example, are often motivated by short-term rewards. They work best when receiving rewards early and often. It keeps their confidence and energy high when extroverts bounce from one reward to the next. This is a little confusing. Let's think about this in a different way. Imagine an extrovert operating in any social situation. We know that extroverts prioritize quantity over quality, right? Well, they jump from one short conversation to the next. They'll meet someone new, laugh for a few minutes, then move on to another brief but exciting interaction. That way, their spirits stay high and the confidence stays strong. Well, extroverts work just like they socialize. They like short sprints from one reward to the next because it maintains a constant sense of excitement and enthusiasm. Now, let's think about how introverts socialize. They're the opposite of extroverts, so quality over quantity. Instead of many short conversations, they prefer 1 or 2 long conversations. And they work the exact same way. They like deeper, more substantial projects, which force them to invest in a long-term solution. Introverts have no problem delaying gratification in favor of a bigger payoff. Extroverts would find this frustrating and discouraging, but introverts are patient, so they prefer long-term success over short-term rewards. Number 4. Greater concentration. There are many advantages to staying out of the spotlight, and concentration is one of the biggest. Introverts excel at tuning out the rest of the world. They like to get lost in their own work, ideas, and passions. The simple truth is, compared to extroverts, they're less interested in the outside world, so it's easier for introverts to avoid external distractions. They're less tempted to attend every event. They don't need to jump into every conversation. They have an easier time tuning out the rest of the world because their brains would rather focus on work. Now, as you can imagine, this skill set works wonders for their concentration. At home and in the workplace, you're surrounded by distracting stimuli. Phones ringing, coworkers chatting, the list goes on and on. But what happens when you ignore all these distracting stimuli? This simple change increases your productivity by leaps and bounds. That's why introverts make some of the most efficient workers. They're focused and productive. They rarely stray from their responsibilities, and they don't mind investing extra time in their work. Greater concentration also creates more effective leadership. It helps introverted bosses lead by example. When you sit down and hash out a problem, it inspires others to follow in your footsteps. Number 5. Genuine humility. Some extroverts live fast and furious lives, so they rarely stop to think about their own egos. They get caught up in the attention and adrenaline, they soak up the spotlight, and they begin to think they're better than everybody else. These extroverts become arrogant without even noticing. Introverts, on the other hand, tend to be modest. They're used to sitting on the sidelines. They don't mind fading into the background. This lack of attention works to nurture a healthy ego by allowing introverts to acknowledge their flaws. But it's not all good news. Very few introverts are cocky, but many struggle with low self-esteem. When you spend all your time out of the spotlight, you start to criticize yourself. You adopt a self-deprecating mindset that drives your self-esteem into the ground. So if you're an introvert, you need to keep your self-esteem in check. Humility is one of your strongest assets, but don't forget you're just as valuable as anybody else. Number 6. Careful decision-making. Who makes smarter choices, introverts or extroverts? Many extroverts get swept up in the heat of the moment, so they make impulsive decisions. They don't think through their actions and instead do something that they ultimately regret. Introverts rarely make this mistake. They're less vulnerable to that big wave of excitement and enthusiasm. They rarely make snap decisions or act purely on their emotions. Instead, introverts are careful decision makers. They like to explore their options before making up their minds. Now, this slows many introverts down. They may take weeks or months to make a decision, but introverts ultimately make more satisfying choices because they know they did their homework. With thoughtful consideration comes sound judgment and greater confidence in your final decision. In the workplace, this introverted skill set is invaluable. As a worker, it empowers you to think strategically and avoid impulsive behavior. As a leader, introverts guide their teams in the right direction by inspiring confidence in those who follow you. So yeah, introverts make slow decisions, and yeah, they research every little thing before making up their minds. If you're an extrovert, this may seem strange. You may tell your introverted friends to live a little, but these thoughtful decisions make introverts some of the most decisive people in the world. Number 7. Dauntless determination. How much time do you spend solving a problem? Will you wrestle with any problem for as long as it takes? Many extroverts wave the white flag early on. They give up as soon as any problem becomes too difficult. It makes them restless and frustrated, so they move on to something else, something that doesn't feel like a waste of time. Now, in general, extroverts don't like uncertainty. If things feel cloudy or out of control, they lose interest. Why is that? Well, think back to our conversation about motivation. Extroverts are more motivated by external rewards. They look for positive motivators from their environment, and they work best when meeting small and frequent milestones. But introverts draw motivation from larger intrinsic accomplishments. To an introvert, solving a difficult problem after hours of doubt and deliberation is a reward in itself. So the average introvert will pour absurd amounts of time and effort into a challenging problem. They'll dive deep, They'll explore all the options. They'll try and fail until finally they discover the right answer. This skill set has all kinds of practical applications. It's one of the reasons why introverts are so successful in our competitive world. When they see a difficult problem, they spend years of their life determined to solve it. Yeah, it's hard work, it takes all kinds of sacrifices, but when they find the answer, all their hard work finally pays off. Hey, thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe because more incredible content is on the way. Hey, thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe because more incredible content is on the way.